Let's talk about the relationship between foster carers and birth families.
Put your hand in mine, follow me, let me waste your time, set up the...
Hello and welcome. My name is Sarah. If you're new around here and don't know, I am a foster carer in the UK, and I want to talk about the importance of a positive relationship between us as foster carers and birth family. I'm going to use the term birth family. It could be that you interact with mum, dad, maybe a stepdad or stepmom, aunties, uncles even potentially, and grandparents is the one that I've dealt with quite a lot. And it's important how we foster that relationship as a foster carer. How do we make a positive relationship? I think it's so important to have a positive relationship with parents and birth family in general. And just as I talk through this video, I will probably interchange the terminology I'm using. Maybe it's birth family, birth parents. Please don't take offense at these words. I know there's some people, internet warriors, tap away, like, they are not birth family, they are this, like, oh my goodness. There is no offence meant by the wording that I use. Of course, these people they are mum, they are dad, they are grandma, they are granddad to these children. I'm going to use the terminology potentially of birth family just to encompass all of them, unless I'm specifically talking about them, the child's mum, the child's dad. So just bear that in mind. Please don't take offence. It's like, oh. Everyone I've dealt with, to be honest, I've had positive relationships with in terms of the children's family. And I remember beforehand, when I was a newly approved foster carer, and I remember being, I was going to say petrified. I don't know whether petrified is too strong of a word, but maybe it's not. I was petrified of meeting the family, the parents. It was mum and dad the first time. I remember being so... It wasn't just nerves, I was scared, like actually scared that, I can't remember whether I met them at a meeting or whether it was at a contact. I think it was at a meeting, and I remember thinking, what if, like, after the meeting, they, like, wait for me in the car park and, like, punch me? And it sounds silly, but I don't know, like, maybe that has happened. It would be a ridiculous thing for a parent to do, because it's not going to put them in a very good light, but they're obviously feeling lots of emotions, especially like right at the very start. Their child or children have just been taken off them for, you know, various different reasons. They're feeling lots of things. Anger, I'm sure, is one of them. And so I was just really quite nervous that they may take that out on me and be really quite aggressive towards me. And whether it's just I've been lucky, or whether it's the way in which I act towards them, I haven't come across any sort of anger or aggression towards me at all from birth family. And like I say, I have had very positive relationships with them. But definitely at first I was very scared of, I think, of the violence. I'd forgotten completely about this, but I was telling my sister that I was making this video, and she said to me that, do you not remember that you taught me and my son, I taught them like how to lock the car from the inside and where the SOS button is in the car? Which, yeah, I'm filming this video in the car because the child's at contact at the moment that I currently have, and so I'm child free, so I thought I would record this video. But yeah, I'd completely forgotten that I taught them. I can't remember whether they'd come to the contact centre with me for some reason. I think maybe they had, and I'd said to them, it must have been very early on, and I'd taught them like how to do all these things, like just in case, which I think probably, like, you should know where your SOS button is in your car, to be honest. But I was clearly very nervous about it for a while. I think the more I've done it, the less bothered I've become, and it's always nerve-wracking. The first time you meet the parents or any member of the birth family, it's nerve-wracking because it's hard. And I think what's important, okay, important things are to not go into the meeting or when you're first meeting the birth parents with any preconceived thought about them, and that is one of the hardest things, I think. By the time you meet birth family, you've probably been looking after the children for a few days at least, and you've got their paperwork, and you know a bit of their story and their history and why they've come into care. And sometimes that can be not a very nice read. Well, lots of times, to be honest, that's not a very nice read. I think it's just so important to not be judgmental. It's so hard not to, but to not judge mum, dad or anyone. I'm sure a child will be placed with me at some point where I read that information and I think, oh my goodness, how on earth can I face dad, or how on earth can I face mum, or how can I face this particular family member because they've done maybe such horrific things to the child. I'm sure that will come along. That hasn't done so far, luckily, but things have come up where I thought, oh my goodness, how do I be nice to this person? You just do. I just think that your only goal, my only goal as a foster carer, is to care for the child. I'm not there to judge parents, to make any decisions on anything. The only reason I am there is to care for the child in this interim time, for me as a short-term foster carer, in this interim time until decisions are made, whether they go back to parents or whether they go adoption, wherever they may go. My job is to care for them, and part of me caring for them, part of you as a foster carer caring for the children in your care, is to have positive relationships with the other adults in these children's lives that mean the world to them. These children love, most of the time, love their mum and dad and grandparents, and it's not, oh my goodness, like absolutely I should forge good relationships with them because that's what's best for the child. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that I'm there for, to do good by the child. Positive relationships with their family members that they love is absolutely the best way to go about that. I think that I expected initially that birth family would have a lot of anger, resentment, aggression towards me, that I'd taken their child away from them, that I was getting to spend this time with their little baby or their little boy or their little girl or whatever, and I'm doing nice things at the weekend with them and they can't do that. And I thought that they would, and I'm sure there is resentment there and there's a lot of feelings about that. There was no sort of anger about the fact that their children have been taken off them towards me. I've not experienced that anyway. The people that I've dealt with, any sort of anger or anything, it's towards social services, it's towards the people who they see. The bad guys is the system, it's social services, that's who've taken their children away. And I'm just looking after them, and it's not my fault, I didn't do it. I think that's how they kind of see it. As the foster carer, when you see the parents, they'll use you as a bit of a sounding board to complain about social services, complain about maybe like their social worker or this meeting that happened that we were all in. And definitely they like to sort of just have a little bitch and a moan about the system, about social services, about different social workers and things. And my sort of response to that is just sort of to sit and listen. I don't really say anything about it, because if it makes the parents feel a little bit better, fine. You know, I don't care, as long as, like, you know, the child shouldn't be hearing it all. And it doesn't matter if they want to slag off their social worker to me, they can slag off their social worker. Like, I really don't care. If it makes them feel a bit better, go for it. I really don't mind. In terms of sort of when you see them, generally you will see parents at contact, so depending on how often you have contact, it may work differently in different contact centres and things, but I've experienced like contact out in the community where the parents family don't need supervision, so you just meet them somewhere and they can go off. And I've also experienced it in the contact centre. Different contact centres may work differently, but for the one that I have used, there's like a little waiting room. You go at a certain time. Parents are generally asked to attend a little bit beforehand, just so they can make sure that they are going to turn up. If they're not around or whatever, then they can maybe phone me to say they're not here, they're not coming today. Which actually I haven't had parents that don't turn up for contact, luckily, for the children involved, I suppose. Because that, I imagine, is pretty difficult. Like I say, it's not something I've dealt with, but if you take the child to contact and parents aren't there, I can imagine you really start to change your opinion on parents, and if you see the disappointment in children's faces, or if you've gone out of your way to take the child to the contact and they're not there, that could get really frustrating. So back to the contact centre. So the parents have arrived a little bit beforehand, and then there's a little waiting room. So I'll arrive 5-10 minutes before contact starts. Parents are there. Obviously they sort of see the child, and that's when you kind of see them. So it could be that contact's 5 times a week, and so you sort of see them 5-10 minutes before contact, a couple of minutes after contact. So you're seeing them every time you have contact, probably. I'm sure there's scenarios where that doesn't happen, where like parents go straight into the room and the contact worker gets the child and takes them in, but I've not had that. And that all can be arranged actually at the first meeting. You sort of talk about how it will work. So I think if you were feeling, as the foster carer, if you felt at risk of certain things, you could ask if someone was to come out and collect children rather than you having to go and see the parents, if that's how you wanted to do it, if that's how you felt safe, or whatever the situation was. Absolutely never be afraid, as a foster carer, never be afraid to ask for anything really. If you feel, they can only say no, just in life I suppose, really. Don't be afraid to ask for anything, but absolutely, if it's something that puts you, if you're very uncomfortable with the situation, you don't feel safe, absolutely don't put yourself there, and don't do it. Ask the question and just say, well, I'm not prepared to do it. You are absolutely within, if you feel like you can't for whatever reason sit in the reception with parents, absolutely ask that someone can come out and collect the children if you feel that that's what needs to be done. Like I say, I do think it's important for the children to see interaction between us as foster carers and the parents, but if that's not possible, obviously do feel that you can ask for that. Like I said, I have also done contact out in the community, which we have actually done. I've gone on like not days out, but like mornings out with family, because it just how it worked out, because I had other children with me, and the other children, it was just a big thing, to be honest. And so I spoke to their social worker, and it was like, does it matter if I stay? It could be actually that you have to supervise that contact as well. You could supervise contact in the community, which I don't think I would want to do, to be quite honest. But it was an unsupervised, like I wasn't supervising it, but I was just there with the other children that I was fostering, and I cleared it with everyone's social worker that was all fine to do and everything. And that has its challenges, absolutely. Like spending a couple of hours with birth family, that does have its challenges. But sometimes I just think, like, you're an adult, just suck it up and get on with it for the sake of the kids. Like, absolutely, they will do things that you just think, why are you doing that? But just whatever, like, it doesn't matter. Just get on with it and just smile and let the children see that it's all wonderful and you're getting on, and yeah, it's all fine. You could be like, oh my goodness, inside, but don't let that show. Be happy, be polite, be kind, be nice, and all is good. You will also see parents at any meetings, so things like the child looked after review, that you have an initial one, and then maybe every 3 months. I'm not actually sure, to be honest. So you'll see them at those meetings. I think that they can attend like medical appointments, so you may see them at child's medical appointments. So you see them relatively often, to be honest. One of the things I try to gauge, sometimes you can gauge it and sometimes you just have to outrightly ask parents, is things like, do they want photos? Like, if the children have done something particularly nice at the weekend, do they want me to like print off a photo for them? Sometimes they don't, almost like they don't want to know, which, kind of fine. I have also had a situation where actually we had each other's numbers to arrange contact and things, which I would just say, if you don't feel comfortable about handing out your number, absolutely don't. You don't have to, but I was comfortable in this situation. And so like I would message some pictures and things if they'd done something particularly cute or whatever, And not all parents want that, and so just be aware of that. Some of them just like to see some pictures and things, and just ask them. If you can't sort of tell, just outrightly ask, to be honest. I think it's always best to do it like beforehand, not after you've done something. So if you just sort of say, once you know them a little bit maybe, or even in the first meeting, you could bring it up in the meeting. I think I've always just brought it up when it's just been like one-on-one with myself and the parents. Obviously check with social workers and things that that's all fine and it's okay to do. But yeah, I've just sort of said, you know, if we do anything particularly nice or whatever, or if he's done something, or do you want me to bring in some pictures, or I think like over Christmas or something, like, do you want to see any pictures? Sometimes they don't, like I say, they just don't want to. Maybe it's like it hurts them too much, like, to see, I mean, particularly Christmas is difficult, but like to see pictures of their kid on Christmas Day, some of them really want to, some of them just like, no, it just hurts to see the pictures, which is fine, absolutely. But that's a really good way to sort of, they appreciate it, most of them anyway, they appreciate those little things. It's about being very aware as the foster carer and picking up on little signals, I think anyway, and if you can't pick up on those signals, like I say, just outrightly ask, but talk to them, you know, like, as much as they maybe just want to complain about social services, figure out, like, do they want to know about things that they've been doing in school, or like things that they've done at the weekend. If you've gone on like a special little trip, do they want to know about that? Is there a particular toy that they're loving? I have in the past like taken in a toy from home that they were particularly loving, just so they feel like they're not kind of, I don't know how they feel, but just, I feel like you would maybe feel you're losing touch with your child as time goes on and you're only seeing them maybe once a week or whatever. The more I can kind of communicate with them and tell them little snippets about the child's week, I imagine it would be better for the parents. And if I feel like it isn't, then I just think, okay, I have done things in the past and I've thought, I don't think you wanted to know about that, I won't bother. It's very easy to kind of tell, to be quite honest, if they didn't want the information that you've given them. They're not generally shy about sort of making that very obvious. It's definitely a challenge. Relationships with birth parents, but a positive one is absolutely what you have got to forge as a foster carer. Sometimes, absolutely, like I say, sometimes it is just like through gritted teeth. Sometimes you're being nice. Just be nice and just think of why you're there. You're there for the child, and the child needs to see positivity, and that absolutely my connection with their parent will have an effect on their well-being. Absolutely it will, and it's important for them to see that. If you have any questions about relationships with birth family, mum, dad, whatever you want to call them, the children's family, the children's birth family, if you have any questions about that, do leave them down below in the comments, and I will do my best to help you out with those queries, or maybe someone else can. We have quite a lot of foster carers who watch these videos that sort of like help each other out in the comments, which is really nice. Thank you so much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up. I will leave my fostering playlist just here, and YouTube thinks you might like this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.